Honorable Senator, le comité sénatorial.
Honourable Senators, the Standing Senate Committee on Official Languages has conducted a study entitled Horizon 2018 to Stronger Learning of French in British Columbia on the challenges that students and parents face when trying to have French schools for their children and French immersion programs in British Columbia. Before anything else, I would like to thank Senator Tardif, Chair of the Standing Senate Committee on Official Languages, as well as all senators on the committee who contributed to this study in British Columbia. I would also like to thank the witnesses who contributed to the report. Thank you for having highlighted issues concerning French in my province of British Columbia. Your testimony was crucial. Senators Tardif and Gagné submitted the report with a great deal of understanding and clarity during their speeches. They highlighted the recommendations in the report regarding issues affecting la francophonie and encouraged cooperation between the Department of Canadian Heritage and the British Columbia Department of Education. This cooperation between the federal and provincial governments is crucial in ensuring French language education and immersion programs to which students can have access. Our nation not only believes in bilingualism, the right to bilingualism is also in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I quote, the right recognized for Canadian citizens to educate their children in primary and secondary school in the language of the francophone or anglophone minority of the province is exercised across the province, where the number of children of citizens entitled to that right warrants it, and it shall be covered by public funds. Includes when the number of children warrant the right to have them provided with education in teaching institutions. That right, therefore, makes it possible for a French-speaking parent in my province, where French is a minority language, to provide their children with French language education. Honourable Senators, I am eager to work with the new Commissioner of Official Languages to make sure that this right is implemented in British Columbia and is complied with in British Columbia. I would like to thank Commissioner Fraser for the work he has done for Canadians. In this study, a number of striking figures were revealed. Between 2006 and 2011, the French-speaking population of British Columbia grew. French as a first language now is the case for over 12,400 individuals. In spite of the very good study and excellent research carried out by the Standing Committee on Official Languages, their excellent recommendations and the progress that we will be seeing, I am still not satisfied. My frustration is because there is a lack of distinction and recognition for French-speaking communities who don't come from Canada, as well as the very little funding provided for French immersion education. First of all, as the report shows, over 185,000 immigrants have settled in my province of British Columbia. That was between 2006 and 2011. Some 30% of French-speaking British Columbians are immigrants. So what does that mean? It means that these are people whose mother tongue is not necessarily French, but who speak French. They are increasingly numerous. They identify with the French-speaking community, and they have shown they feel a sense of belonging to Canadian French culture. Let me tell you about a francophone who doesn't come from Canada. Benula Larson comes from Mauritius, the island of Mauritius. France is one of her first language languages, as is Creole. In secondary school, she struck up friendships with Iranian and Quebec schoolmates. Together, they created the Francophone Youth Council of British Columbia, which is still in place. Its mission is to promote pride among young people in speaking French and being Francophones. Ms. Larson said, and I quote, "Francophonie is my passion. The love for French makes me the person that I am today. I am proud of being a French language immersion teacher. I have lived in British Columbia for 35 years, and it is my home. It is because of French that I feel so much a part of this place. In spite of everything, though, we still have a great deal to do so that our students can have access to French language education. When they arrive, some immigrants are not told that French language education is even available." End of quote. Honorable Senators, there are many Francophones like Ms. Larson in British Columbia. My great friend Padmini Chundun Singh is also from Mauritius. She is the chair of the British Columbian Francophone Federation. Ms. Larson and Ms. Chundun Singh are very much involved and tirelessly contribute to Francophone culture in the west of Canada. Francophones like these two women make up 30% of BC's Francophone population. These are people who identify with the French language without being from Canada. That percentage of the Francophone community is not genuinely recognized. In the report, Recommendation 12 asks the Minister of Canadian Heritage, the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, as well as the Minister of Education of British Columbia, to make sure that Francophone immigrants are informed that they can have their children in French language schools in British Columbia. The second challenge regards the inadequate access to French immersion programs. There has been an increase of 75% in enrollment among Francophone schools. That was seen between 1997 and 2014. During the same period, there was a 65% increase in enrollment in immersion programs. Those figures, which are drawn from the report, prove it. There is no doubt that both demand and interest are there. In spite of the very high demand and growing waiting lists for French immersion programs, the Vancouver School Board is cutting the number of classes for the 2017 school year, the September 2017-18 school year, by about a third. That is a very large cut. I understand that education might seem to be a provincial problem, but as far as I'm concerned, bilingualism is a federal issue, a national issue. Bilingualism is something that concerns all of Canada. My two children are perfectly bilingual. They want to convey that language heritage to their children. My grandson was on the waiting list of 13 primary schools for an immersion program. It's only thanks to my daughter-in-law, who made a number of calls to personal contacts, that my grandson has finally found a place in an immersion classroom. Many parents try and hope that their children will also be accepted into immersion programs. Preventing children from getting French language education is unacceptable. It is something that undermines the growth of Canadian bilingualism in my province. Funding is not keeping pace with enrollment. Recommendation 11 of the report is directed to the Minister of Canadian Heritage. We ask her, in cooperation with the Minister of Education of British Columbia, to meet growing interest by guaranteeing access to immersion programs and providing the funding needed to support those programs. When parents and students are given access to French language education and immersion programs, they are being allowed to exercise their fundamental language rights as set forth in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. As parliamentarians, politicians, and representatives of the federal government, it is our duty to promote French language and English language education in every part of Canada. We must provide students with French education because it is needed for their cultural identity. For decades, we have been seeing the same problems coming up year after year, and they will not solve themselves. Given the federal government's renegotiation of the Memorandum of Agreement on teaching in the minority second language and on the teaching of the second language in 2018, it's a perfect time for the Official Languages Committee to submit its report. It is a perfect time for the federal and provincial governments to show that they genuinely consider that bilingualism in British Columbia and bilingualism across Canada is important. Moreover, while negotiating the new Memorandum of Agreement on Education and the next multi-year plan on official languages, I would ask the Minister of Canadian Heritage to give a voice to Francophone communities in British Columbia and to push for funding for immersion programs. Financial support is urgent, but so is access. If we don't provide the needed resources and needed access to children so that they can learn French in British Columbia, we will never be a genuinely bilingual nation. I am a very strong advocate for minority language rights in British Columbia, be it for Francophones and Francophiles like myself. I genuinely and sincerely believe in bilingualism. That is why I'm asking the government to recognize the 30% of Francophones who are not of Canadian origin but who contribute tirelessly to the wealth and richness of Francophonie in my province. If we are truly serious about bilingualism, we have to provide the resources needed for French immersion programs. Honourable Senators, bilingualism in English and French is what makes our nation unique. Bilingualism is the foundation of our Canadian identity. Bilingualism is the richest legacy we can give future generations. And if we don't encourage Francophone education and immersion, we damage that cultural legacy. We are a bilingual nation, and we must promote that richness. Honourable Senators, Anglophone Canada, yes. Francophone Canada, yes. A bilingual Canada, a united Canada is truly necessary.
That if we are going to be serious, that our country becomes a bilingual country, stays a bilingual country, we have to be serious about the resources we provide to provinces right across the country. The resources that are provided to children in British Columbia are really bad. And that is why I really am very happy and proud to be in this Senate, where under the leadership of Senator Tardif, we are looking at this issue, and I know that she will continuously monitor so that the children in Newfoundland, the children in Quebec, and the children in British Columbia, they all speak in both our languages, French and English. Thank you very much.
Merci, Mobina.